Tennessee football team back to work coming off its loss to Alabama on Saturday. Alongside Patrick Brown, I'm Ryan Callahan. This Go Vols 24/7 No-Huddle. The Vols turning their attention to Kentucky, another border state rivalry. Saturday night, 7:45, right? SEC Network up in Lexington, Kentucky. And Tennessee has mostly dominated this series, but still one that demands a lot of attention. Kentucky obviously coming off an overtime loss to Texas on Saturday. We'll get to that in just a minute, but most importantly, out of Josh Heupel's weekly press conference, sounds like Tennessee's quarterback, although banged up, will be healthy this week. Joey Aguilar didn't miss any time during Saturday's game, but he was very banged up during that game, and some concern at least about him. But Josh Heupel says he's okay.
Yeah, there's a few guys on this team that are playing through some stuff, and Aguilar, they were looking at his neck after he took a big hit. I think early in the second quarter the other night. So on the sideline, the other quarterbacks were warming up. He was warming up. Looked like he was near the huddle, and then ran back to the sideline. He was talking to some trainer type people. So, but Josh Heupel said today he's good to go. So that's good for Tennessee, and they need his toughness out there, because I think the offense feeds off of it. But I think the coaching staff would prefer that he get down a few times, and he did get down one time in the game and had an Alabama defender take an elbow to his helmet. So sometimes getting down doesn't always mean you don't get hit, but if you do it, more likely than not, you're going to get hit.
Yeah, Tennessee's offensive line rotated a bit in Saturday's game. David Sanders Jr. out there again, rotating in. Had to deal with Lance Hurd leaving the game at one point. So a little bit banged up, a little bit just sort of taking advantage of their depth. But Josh Heupel says the plan right now is for that group to continue to rotate. That's sort of an interesting approach, and they've got some a little bit of depth there, not a ton, but it sounds like they plan to continue taking advantage of that.
Yeah, we'll just go position by position, right? Okay, so Lance Hurd was in the injury tent for a few plays. So Bennett Warren got in there. He looked fine. Left guard was Sham Umaroff, started there. Wendell Moy Jr. played there too. Center was Sam Pendleton starting, but William Satterwhite for the second game in a row has continued to get some opportunities there. Right guard Wendell Moy started. See, it's hard to keep up.
Right.
But we did see some of that combination with Jesse Perry inside, and he started right tackle with David Sanders Jr. coming in as well. So that was the five: Hurd, Moy, Pendleton, Perry, and Sanders that they were going into the season with, and David Sanders misses time. He's still working his way back from that, but Josh Heupel said they're going to continue to do it because they didn't feel like any of the issues that were slowing the offense were necessarily because of the shuffling of lineup. He said the guys are comfortable doing that. They did it all during preseason camp when they were working on different combinations and trying to build depth that way. He thought the communication was good, so he didn't think that was a major problem or any sort of issue in the game the other night, so he made it sound like they're going to continue to do that.
And he said that despite Tennessee, again, having some penalty issues on the road. 10 penalties in that game for 66 yards. That's kind of in line with the Vols' averages on the road over the past few years. He addressed that a little bit earlier. Didn't have a lot to say, just basically said they got to keep kind of working on the finer details and making sure they're doing what they need to do from play to play.
Yeah, I mean, they have an officiating crew at practice, so it's something that we don't know if they have a bunch of penalties in practice, but he did say that during the team meeting earlier this morning that they went and kind of showed the team, like, here's where your penalties are, and here's how they impact the game. If you get a 5-yard pre-snap penalty, I think that was the one those are the most easily fixable ones. You can't have a bunch of false starts and stuff on the road, but they didn't even really, they had one of those, but they also had, they lined up wrong outside and took away a nice play that wasn't even, lining up wrong had nothing to do with the play. So the Heupel said that, like, when you have penalties, it makes the game harder on you and easier for your opponent. It's hard to play in 1st and 15 when you false start. They had a couple, they had one on the first drive, it was 2nd and 2, and you go to 2nd and 7. Whereas your next play was enough, if there's not a penalty, you get a first down. That's the first down on the drive. You can keep going from there. And when you jump offside, you make it 1st and 5 for the offense, or for the other team. That makes it easier for them. So they've got to find a way to clean up. I don't know if it's something they need to do in practice or if they just need to be a little bit more focused during the game, have a little more composure. He talked about the bad snap too. That was another mistake, not a penalty. Talking about a sudden change situation where they recognized a different defense. They were going to check it, but they'd already sort of indicated that they were ready for the snap, so it gets snapped, and that was obviously a big play too. So just the main message is that from what I think the team met and talked about this morning was just like they are doing so many things that are beating themselves.
Yep.
None of that stuff, none of the penalties, none of the bad snap and other things, drops. I think you can probably throw that in there. Missed tackles, none of that's really. Sometimes guys make you miss when you're trying to tackle them, but a lot of these mistakes that Tennessee's making, particularly on offense, is stuff that they're just doing. It doesn't really have anything to do with the other team.
Unforced errors.
Right, and they've got to fix that up. They've got to fix that. Again, I don't know if it's they got to be sharper in practice or switch something up in practice. They're very routine oriented, but they've obviously got to do it differently in games to get different outcomes.
And it's kind of an open question throughout the Josh Heupel era. Each year, Tennessee has been ranked below 100 nationally in penalties per game and penalty yards per game. You wonder at a certain point, is that kind of baked into Josh Heupel's system? Is there a little bit too lax of an attitude about that? That that's going to happen.
Sometimes when you play fast, you're going to have that stuff.
Yeah. So it's been sort of a question we've asked for a while. Is there something you can do about that? So far, they've not really found any way to change that. And then also, looking ahead to the Kentucky game, Tennessee, they've dominated this series. A little bit of talk about Kentucky. Obviously Josh Heupel said, a lot of things you hear about Kentucky every year. They're physical up front, experienced, but this is a team that's not won a lot of games. They are coming off an overtime loss to Texas, though, but it's a game Tennessee typically expects to win and does pretty well in this series.
Kentucky dominated Texas, actually. I mean, that was a game Kentucky kind of Kentucky'd, right? I mean, they dominate a ranked team and lose. They also took Ole Miss down to the wire earlier in the season, so they've been a different team at home. It's a night game. Tennessee's gone up there twice under Josh Heupel for night games, and they've both gone down to the wire. So I think you can show the film of the Texas game to your team and say, hey, this team is not going to be easy. No one in this league is going to be easy. So, they've got to turn the page from Alabama. They've got to move on. Heupel said that right off the top. Everyone's disappointed with how everything went in Tuscaloosa the other night, but in this sport, it's win or lose, you got to turn the page. So they've got to find a way to play better. Again, we talk about it every week, Ryan. They haven't played a clean game in a while. Even when they beat some teams, they were making a lot of mistakes, but still finding ways to overcome them. So you got to find a way to eliminate those mistakes and play better.
Still awaiting an actual kickoff time for next week's game at Tennessee against Oklahoma. The Vols have been hoping all season this would be a night game. Right now it's iffy. 3:30, 7 or 7:30 Eastern time are the possibilities. The game will be televised on either ABC or ESPN. The other possibility is South Carolina, Ole Miss.
Oklahoma and Ole Miss play each other, so if you're a Tennessee fan, you probably want Oklahoma to win that game.
Yeah, if you want this to be a night game in that primetime slot, you probably want Oklahoma to win against the Rebels on Saturday. Plenty of discussion throughout the week, plenty of coverage up on the website. Eventually, after our AWS outage is corrected for all the websites affected by that nationally, but we'll have plenty of coverage throughout the week on GoVols247.com. For Patrick Brown, I'm Ryan Callahan.